some people come in to ask questions. Um, Now, between the two basic types of harmonicas, again, you'll see that the chromatic harmonica has a button. And what that button does, which is kind of interesting and cool, it makes it so that it has the same range as basically a piano keyboard, not lengthwise like low and high notes, but all the white keys and black keys. So if you think of the chromatic harmonica as the white keys of the piano, so that's basically what you get from the white keys of the piano. But when you press the button in, it takes whatever note you're playing and pushes it up a half step. So essentially, the chromatic harmonica is called chromatic harmonica because it can play a chromatic scale. And a chromatic scale is, again, like having all the white keys and the black keys available, uh, like from a piano. And it means you can play it in any key you want. With the diatonic harmonicas, we tend to buy them in different keys. If you're just brand new and just starting, I suggest you start with the key of C. There's no sharps and flats. And basically all the diatonic harmonicas play exactly the same. So if, let's say, you learn to play Mary Had a Little Lamb, if you pick up a different key harmonica, and I'll show you by picking up a different key harmonica. Let's see, what do we have here? That's yet another C. Boom, boom, boom. And what is this? That's another C. Okay. So this is key of C. I'll just do O Susanna. It starts on 4 blow. If I do the G harmonica, so you play the same holes in the same way when you blow and draw, but if you buy an A harmonica, when you play O Susanna, it will come out in A. They designed the harmonica so all the notes you need are there. So that makes it easy to play diatonic harmonicas and you don't have to think. The chromatic harmonica, if you play a C major scale, well, that's pretty easy. That's actually exactly the same as playing it on a diatonic harmonica starting on hole 4. But if I want to play an A, there's my A. I have to press the button in sometimes because the key of A has 3 flats in it. So the key of C is C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and A is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So would you have to know that on the chromatic? No, because you don't have to learn all the scales on chromatic. Some people think they do or they're not doing it the right way, but you do not. You do not have to do that. You can actually just take your chromatic and you find some tabs or some music and you play whatever songs you want to play. And that's the best way to use the chromatic harmonica. So generally speaking, let's see. Oh, hey, it's the blues. It's John. How are you? Good to see you. Few people came and left. And it says there's 2 watching, so that would be me and you. So there's nobody new here. Um, but that's okay. I'll give it a little time. This thing may never take off, but I'm prepared for if it does and if it doesn't. But I'll give it the old college try. And let's see, a couple other people just joined us. So if you just wandered in, I'm Dave Gage, and this is a live question answer class about anything relating to harmonica, or really you can ask me anything about music. I've been doing this forever. And I've, not a great bass player or drummer or even guitar player, though I play guitar okay. But I play a lot of instruments, and I teach, I sing, and I teach singing also. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in. If you don't, that's okay. I'm just kind of chatting here. And John, yesterday we started a conversation. John here he says, it's the blues. That's John. He's actually an old friend and a student of mine who I've known for quite some time. Used to do classes with me at harmonicalessons.com, and occasionally does a private lesson. So I'm going to, again, if you're new here and you have a question, if it's a dumb question, I love those because they're never dumb questions. If it seems like really simple and really basic, I'm good with that. Just give me whatever's on your mind or whatever problems you're having, or you just want to know something general or something very specific. So feel free to write it in. And because John's here, he was here yesterday when I did an unscheduled class. So if you didn't know about it, there's a good reason why you didn't know about it, is because I was testing. And now I think I kind of have it down. So, so there you go. That's my story. That 70s guy. Okay, give me just a second before I get to you. And also, I wanted to say that aside from these live classes here, of course, I have my YouTube channel. I do have a little bit of a presence on TikTok and Instagram. But my main presence is at my website, harmonicalesson.com. And there's a screenshot behind my face of harmonicalesson.com, the homepage. So that's where I have 45 hours of video, about 75 videos, I think, that go into real detail about playing harmonica. And chromatic and diatonic, though it's primarily diatonic because most people who get a harmonica tend to get a diatonic harmonica. So, of course, I'm going to put most of the time and energy and content into that. So anyway, that's the story, and I also teach one-on-one private lessons. So if you're shy and you don't want to ask your questions here, I do that. You can go to harmonicalesson.com and look at the top, and it'll say private lessons, click there, and you can do that. I'm not cheap. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. Former band leader and session player, songwriter, wrote for Disney back in the 90s. And then somehow I ended up getting married and buying a house and having two kids. And so I've been away from the business for a while. And my two boys, by the way, for those of you who don't know, they're called the Brothers Gage. I'm a Dave Gage, a single Dave Gage, and the Brothers Gage are my two sons, Alex and Brody. They played on America's Got Talent. They played harmonicas on America's Got Talent. I think it was around 2020, 2020, whenever the damn COVID thing was. That's when they played. Trust me, we know all about that. But they did a couple of shows before they got eliminated. And if you go to their website, brothersgage.com, or you can look them up anywhere. Those videos are all over the place. So you type in Brothers Gage here at YouTube, whatever, and you could say Brothers Gage, AGT, or America's Got Talent, and that stuff should come up. So anyway, let me look at the comments. as he turns his head slowly to read the comments on his other laptop. 70s guy, I just want to learn how to play Juke and Walter's Boogie. Not interested in Amazing Grace or Oh Susanna, LOL, but it's rather difficult going from 0 to 100. LOL, it's the guitar guy ego. That 70s guy, if you want to, you know, type in, tell me what your name is. I can call you Bill or John or Steve or whatever it happens to be. If not, I'll just call you that 70s guy and you will remain anonymous and I'm fine either way. But uh, what I do is you can get the tabs for, I believe, both of those songs here on YouTube. And then I teach you how to play harmonica. I don't teach you what to play on harmonica, although I have lots of theory and I have lots of scales. And in a private lesson, that's when I will specifically take a song apart and do something like that. The other guy that's here, who is John, he's It's the Blues. John, I know, has worked on Juke. Walter's Boogie, I don't know if he has done that. The problem in that 70s guy is that if you haven't been playing that long, the odds you're going to get close to playing it are pretty much zero because it's played on diatonic harmonica, and diatonic harmonica is what's the technical term for it? It's a bitch. It's a bitch to learn to play because you have to have technique that you can't see other harmonica players doing. It's all invisible, and that's why I always say, if you want an easy instrument, you don't pick up harmonica. You pick up keyboards or maybe guitar. Or bass. Bass is probably about the easiest if you want to play in a band and you don't know anything. Bass is really not difficult to learn. But what I do is I will teach you the technique that you need to play that. And I never bothered coming up. I was not big. I was big on improvising. That's what I primarily do and teach is how to jam. How to improvise. So that comes from scales and techniques, basically, and of course timing, good timing. And if there is one thing that I've seen in intermediate and advanced players and people off the internet, the thing that they never think about or focus on is timing, or as we like to say, timing. Oops, didn't get the timing right on timing. So that's what I do. I don't supply tabs. It's not what I do. But in a lesson, I can listen to what you're doing and I can tell you what you're doing wrong and what isn't right, and I can help you with little sections. But I'm pretty sure that you're going to find the tabs because I know John did. So yeah, that's my story. And the problem with something like Juke is you're going to have to be able to bend really, really well. Almost all of what Little Walter did was in second position on diatonic. He did a little bit of chromatic harmonica, and maybe is there a one third position song? I don't remember now, but he was mostly second position, which is really kind of the way to play the diatonic. It's the advantage of the diatonic. When you play in second position, of course, you're primarily emphasizing draw notes at the low end, and those are the notes that are bendable on the harmonica. Essentially holes 1 through 6 draw. So that's the big thing. Anyway, let me see. So I hope that helps. I'm going to skip John's comment there and I'm going to go right over to that 70s guy again. Dave, it's Hal. Okay, good. I already know some blues guitar and I do have the tabs and the ear. I can play single notes bends. Putting it together is the issue, obviously. Just want to vamp a bit. Yeah, the vamping is really what I excel at. But teaching you tabs, what I can do is, again, I can listen to what you're doing, and if I know the song well, or I just pull it up, I can tell you exactly technically what's going on in the song. But no, I don't tab stuff out for people. Well, I can if you pay me to do it, but I'm kind of expensive to tab stuff out. But it really is how you know from guitar. I don't know what level you're at on guitar, but it really is about technique, and on guitar, there's finger picking and there's picking for leads and learning chords, and there's bar chords and all that kind of stuff. I've taught some guitar before. It would never take guitar lessons from me, though. Trust me, there's way better people out there. Anyway, but yeah, what I can do is tell you what you're missing. And Little Walter was big, big, big on tongue blocking. So that little thing is second position. And that's an octave. And that's done with tongue blocking. So I'm sure you know octaves from guitar and theory. And again, if you asked me how, it's like, well, I really want to get good at harp because I'm pretty good with guitar, and I know my music and I can play single note. It is difficult. Diatonic is difficult, and it takes people typically a few years at least to get to where they want to get, assuming they're actually putting in time practicing the right things. So obviously, that applies to everything. It applies to guitar and harmonica and tennis and golf and martial arts, cooking. You can't just read a book or look at the internet or watch a video and go, oh, I can do it now. No, it's not quite that simple. Let me see here. So let me just read through John's stuff here. Hal, give me a second. What scales do I really need to know? I know the blues scale and it serves me fine, but should I know more? Yeah, I'll address that in a minute. That's a whole new topic. And I read Hal's comment, and then John says, so John says he learned it. He learned juke without the tabs. Had some help from a friend, tabbed it by ear. That's old school. That's the way we did it before the internet, and actually more detailed harmonica instruction books came out. So when I started back in the mid 70s playing, there really was no instruction, there's no classes, there's no teachers. Certainly there was no internet and no videos. So I just had to fake it. And whenever I found anybody who played a decent amount of harmonica and they were better than me, I became their friend, hung out with them, and learned everything I could from them, and then moved on to somebody else. And that's how I learned. There was one instruction book back in the 70s for blues harmonica, and it was called Blues Harp, and I think it was Tony Harp Dog Glover, if I remember. And I thought I was a moron because I couldn't learn from it, and it turned out, I went back years later and looked at it and went, this is awful. He just, he could play some basic blues harmonica, but he was not a teacher. He didn't know how to convey his ideas and thoughts. But now there's lots and lots of stuff. But do be careful, as John here, it's the blues. It's the blues. John will attest to, there's a lot of things you will not get without me or somebody at my level giving you some feedback, because that's the one thing books and tabs and videos and websites don't do, is they do not give you feedback. And I've run across so many people, especially since the advent of the internet, and people say, okay, well, I've got my single notes and my bending down. I go, okay, let's go to 4 below 4 draw. Let me hear your single note. They do not have their single notes down. And I say, well, okay, show me what you mean by bending. And they show me what they mean by bending, and it's not good. So whether it's me or someone else, you need to find somebody qualified that can give you feedback as to what you're doing correctly and incorrectly. And again, it's not as hard in many ways to learn guitar or piano because with a video you can actually see what's going on, but most of the good stuff on harmonica is inside, and you just need a description of it, or you try and spend some weeks or months or years just trying to figure it out by ear. That's how I got most of my stuff. So anyway, Hal, I hope that helps a little bit. And let me say, we've got a few people here watching. If you just stumbled in, I am Dave Gage. Probably figured that out by now. And I've been teaching for 45 years, I guess, a long, long, long time. Started at a music shop in Santa Monica back in 1980 and taught till the 2020 when COVID stopped all that. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to not drive to Santa Monica anymore and just teach out of my house and teach online, which I was already doing anyway. So anyway, and then I started before that. I actually started in the late 70s teaching when I went to school up in UC Davis. I taught at UC Davis and Sacramento. So anyway, that's a little bit of my background. And of course, I've got my website, harmonicalessons.com, and I teach private lessons over Zoom. This is right now me in Zoom streaming to you, obviously, at YouTube. And give me a couple weeks. I hope to be doing some live TikTok classes too. So, and it's a little easier to announce stuff at TikTok. So anyway, let me see. I've got something for John there. And let me see. John has a new comment in there. Let me just read through it. This is me looking at the other laptop. Okay, he says, most important thing I got from lessons was accurate bends. I see lots of guys who can bend, but they don't bend down to the accurate tone. Yeah, that's true. And John may not say it, but there is a real big reason, Hal, and all you other people that are watching that haven't typed anything into the chat. There's a big reason why most people learning on their own can't get bends. First of all, number one, biggest reason, they don't have single notes. And it's not that it's impossible to bend without single notes. I'll show you. So that's a two-note chord, basically. First I did 4 and 5 draw, then I did 3 and 4 draw. So you can bend with chords, but it's way harder. But the big reason is most people, first of all, are not taught how to bend properly. Bending is physics. Bending is slowing down the pitch of the reed. And if you pull the air, if you push and pull the air out of the harmonica parallel to it, that's what the reeds want. If you want to bend it, then what you're doing is you're literally pulling the air up at an angle. Okay, you're pulling the air at an angle, whether it works for you to think of, oh, I pull my tongue back and I get it to bend, or I drop my tongue down, or I bring my tongue to the top of my the roof of my mouth, or I bring it forward. I've heard everything. I've heard every possible explanation. But the bottom line is, if you're going to bend, you need to change the angle of the airflow. Why? Because you got a little reed in there that's vibrating, and when the airflow passes parallel to the reed, it's going to vibrate normally, wherever it's tuned to vibrate, C or D, or if you have a different key harmonica, maybe it's a B flat or an E flat on a B flat harmonica. But once you start to draw the air, and bending for the most part is done on 2, 3, and 4 draw on diatonics, not so much on chromatic, not so much. You can bend all the way from 1 draw to 6 draw, but the meat and potatoes of bending is always on 2, 3, and 4 draw. And then some of the high notes bend at the upper end, but they're kind of in the dog whistle range, and you don't need that at this point. So you pull the air at an angle, and what you're doing is when you pull the air at an angle, you are literally putting some pressure on the reed. You're impeding its ability to vibrate. And by impeding its ability to vibrate, it slows the vibration down and starts to bend. Hal can probably attest to the fact that on guitar, when you bend, the physics are different. So you've got your guitar and you bend a note, you push the note up, and what it does is it actually extends the length of the string at that pitch, and it makes the string vibrate a little bit faster. So when you bend a note on guitar, it goes up. But because of the physics of harmonica, when you bend a reed on diatonic, it goes down. So anyway, it's difficult, and honestly, as good as I believe I am at teaching harmonica, let me see. This is interesting. My again, this is my first real scheduled class. I did a couple of practice ones yesterday unannounced, but I see that Zoom is counting down this class because I set it for anyway. Okay, I'll work this out later, but it's saying, Dave, you only have 22 minutes left. It's like, shut up, Zoom. I'll do it as long as I want to. But I see it's counting down the hour I set up in Zoom, so it should be okay. Anyway, okay, let me get back to the comments. Hopefully that I'm jumping around a little bit because we have some different questions and thoughts here. Let's see. That 70s guy, Hal, again said, I've got 2 bending apps that are greatly helpful. Now I just have to get accurate on demand. I'm applying the set methodology I use on guitar. It's just that this is a winds instrument, so yeah, LLL. There is one major problem with bending apps and not having a human hear you, Hal. And that is they won't tell you if you're doing it correctly. Let me show you the difference. If I take a bending app or even electronic tuner, right, and I bend 4 draw, I might get and if you're listening to that, you go, well, that sounds not great. That sounds a little tight. Yeah, but the bending app will say, yeah, good job. You got it down just about a half step on 4 draw. That D went down to a D flat. Good job, Hal. But it doesn't sound like this. So that is the problem with bending apps and even electronic tuners, is that they don't tell you if it sounds good or not. So be really careful of that, Hal. But, maybe you got it, maybe you don't. I don't know without hearing. But most of the people that have learned on the internet and learned with apps and learned from YouTube videos have lots and lots of bad habits, and they don't hear what they're doing, the things they're doing that are correct or the things that are incorrect or could just simply be improved upon. So the trick, Hal, for bending, whether the app tells you you're bending it in pitch or not, is to not tighten your lips and not suck. This is what kills most people's ability to bend. They suck from the lips and the front of their mouth, and you get that. Okay, and that's not talk to. I don't look at YouTube anymore, but I've noticed a lot of people don't even mention stuff like that, and that's a really big deal. See, I'm sucking. Now watch. I stop sucking and I draw the air in through my mouth, It not only goes down a half step, it goes down just a little bit more than a half step. Okay? Which is okay for blues playing. If you're trying to play a melody, it's an old Basin Street blues riff. Then you have to be more careful about the pitch. But generally speaking, if you ideally want to, as I refer to, bottom out the bend to begin. That's how you want to learn to play, is bottom out the bend. And then if you need to control it later, because let's say you're sitting in with a band and there's a horn section, you're trying to double the line and it's got that bent note in it, then you can be more careful and try to get the pitch there. But that's an advanced thing. It doesn't matter. But I learned that the hard way when back in the early 80s, I'd play with this blues band and they had a horn section. And so I would double some of the lines. And I realized you have to be very, very careful with that. So anyway, let me see what else we got here. Let me read. We got 9 people watching. This is great. Maybe if I stick around another 3-4 hours, we can get 15 people watching. But no, I can't stick around that long. But let me announce right now, while we've got some people here, once I get done with this class, I'm going to schedule another one for 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. And if you're here now, feel free to come back. Feel free to come to any of them. What you would need to do here at YouTube is click on, there should be a little button there that says notify me, and follow my channel and notify me. And honestly, I don't know how I'm just doing this now. It's just new to it. Second day. I don't know what they mean by notify. Whether it's a little email they send you or DM, or maybe you can choose. So if any of you know how you get notified when you say, yes, notify me when Dave does a live class, type it in. Let me know what that is, because I am curious what the notification process is. So anyway, and then unannounced, maybe I'll announce it later. For different time zones, I'm going to try to do one maybe 5 or 6 p.m. my time, Los Angeles time, Pacific time today. So I got a bunch of errands to run. I'm going to get to the gym and all that kind of crap, and I got to do my own practicing. So probably around 6 p.m. actually today, and I'll see if I can set that live thing up. If it ends up I'm a little bit late, it's because I'm still trying to figure out how to connect Zoom with YouTube. So, give me a give me a little bit of time to get this completely figured out. So, all right, Ramblin' Harp. Hey, you were the Michigan guy? Is that correct? Michigan guy, Ramblin' Harp. Okay. If you have more questions or thoughts, please type them in. If you just wandered in and you want to say hello or have a question, please let me know. I've got something here for John. This is very advanced. So if you're just learning to play harmonica, don't worry about the advanced stuff. Just focus on basic techniques, single notes, bending, how to properly hold the harmonica, and especially breathing. And by the way, I define breathing on harmonica as not sucking and blowing at the front of your mouth. Okay? This is sucking and blowing at the front of your mouth. And this is not. This is correct. I can tell this harmonica is slightly out of tune. That annoys me a bit, but I'll survive. I'll live. Anyway, so the breathing works in conjunction with how you produce the single notes. And if you're not tongue blocking, if you're using what I call the vertical slot, which is this, to produce single notes. So my lips aren't making the single note at all. It's the corners of my mouth by blocking out the holes on the side. Okay, if you are or become a member at harmonicalesson.com, my website, you go in and I've got some nice little photographs and also some drawings uh, of how that should work. So that's the vertical slot, which is the advanced version of pucker method, lipping method, whistle method. It's all the same thing, but those which aren't nearly as good, you're making a small hole with your lips, and that's bad for getting a good sound, tone, volume, and power on the harmonica. So there you go. Oh yeah, Steve. Okay, I remember. I did another class after that one yesterday. Test classes, two testing classes, and there was a guy. Oh damn, I can't remember. Anyway. Oh wait! No, you're the guy from the second class. There, that's right. There was a guy in the morning, and he was from someplace. He was from Europe. Okay, so maybe he's here, maybe he's not here. Doesn't look like he is here, but that's okay. All right, let me just do this for John because we were talking about this yesterday, and I'll show you all something. This is kind of cool, kind of interesting. Uh, so this, when I practice diatonic now, this is this is what I take out with me when I practice, and I do all my practicing now in the van. I've got a little mini van, and I'm not chauffeuring kids around anymore, so that's just perfectly fine. And so I practice. I play an hour a day. Sometimes I do other stuff relating to music, but it's still music work. But what I've gotten into recently is the last 25, 30 years, I've mostly been playing chromatic because I got bored with the lack of easily attainable notes on the diatonic. So I did chromatic for a long time. And again, I don't play songs personally. I suggest most or all of you do because it's really good to have something concrete to work on. But I jam, and typically what I do is I turn on the radio and I figure out the key with the chromatic, and then I either jam to that song with the chromatic or with the diatonic. So, who was I talking to? John, that's right. So let me show you something which is kind of interesting. So and this is what I've been doing, John, more recently, is taking my tongue switching stuff. This is an advanced technique in tongue blocking, and anybody out there who's a big Eddie Van Halen fan, I grew up with Van Halen, and I always wanted to be able to do what he did on guitar and harmonica, and you can't do it exactly, but you get kind of the same idea. He's basically tapping and getting intervals, so he gets more distance between notes. So I learned a long time ago I could take an aspect of tongue blocking and move my tongue back and forth and get so that's kind of my claim to fame as a player is the tongue switching stuff to get kind of a rock sound. And if you go to some of my early YouTube videos, and I will at some point release a lot of my old stuff that I think is pretty cool at Spotify and Apple Music and all that, but I've just been busy with other stuff. But anyway, so John, check this out. This is pretty cool. So here's me doing first position on the standard key of C diatonic. Now, if I do that on the low C, So now on the octave low C, I can emphasize holes 7 through 10, which if you do that on a standard C, you're up there in the dog whistle range. So, and sometimes it's good to be up high like that, and sometimes it is not. So, anyway, John, so what I've been doing is I had some and I bought some new ones. So I have a low C, a low D, a low E, a low F, and I also have a low D flat, a low E flat, a low F sharp. So now I don't have to get into the dog whistle range when I go into the high notes. So anyway, so that's pretty cool. And because I'm not rich, these are the Seidel. They're not the 1847 classics, which I prefer, but I can't afford those even at my own discount because I sell them at harmonicastore.com. If you're in the US and you want to help support these live classes, go to harmonicastore.com and buy some stuff. But these are the session steel. So hopefully you can see that Seidel session steel. So and what's even maybe more interesting, John, is let me see. Hang on a second here. Okay, so this is a Lee Oscar low E. And I don't have a standard high E handy to show you, but you get up to 7, 8, 9, 10 blow on the low E or the high E, you're really up there in dog whistle range. It's really, really high. So with this low E, so this is more doable because the when you get to diatonics, you get to E and F sharp, they're really high. Can I play them? Do I use them sometimes? Yes, but I'm finding because I'm mostly playing these days on diatonic first and third position and not second position. Why? Second position for you and most everybody watching this is way better. It's if you want to play blues and rock and country, you do want to play second position. But I've been doing that for 45, 50 years and I'm sick to death of it. So, and I played a lot of chromatic, so I can play in any key on the chromatic. So for instance, here's my low E. So on the chromatic, so I'm just, the key of E has 4 sharps in it, and I know that, and I've played a E major scale on chromatic. Who knows how many tens of thousands of times, so it's easy for me to do. But I still do like the diatonic and I like the chromatic. They both have their place depending upon what you're trying to do. So let me get this again. So John, what I want to specifically show you is this. This is pretty damn cool. And Steve, you might find this interesting too. The easiest and best, the 2 easiest positions to play in a diatonic for folk and country would be first position, and for blues and minor, third position. Can you also do that stuff in second? Yes, you can. Can you use fifth position for minor? Yes, you can. Okay, so this is interesting. You still see me. Again, I'm complete. This is the first scheduled class I've done, so I'm learning. So now it's going, Dave, you've gone over by 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Or, oh, no, it's counting down. It's hopefully it's not going to shut me down. But if it does shut me down, that'll be it for today. I don't think it should, but we'll find out together. But I will be back 6 p.m. today, Pacific time, and I'm going to set up another class tomorrow at 10 a.m. and see if I can get here a little earlier and get it started early. So anyway, okay, so John, this is what I wanted to show you. And again, Steve, you might find this interesting, and possibly Hal. So when I play in third position, it's now that's using third position. I'm on this E again, so third position is a whole step up, which is F sharp. So I'm actually playing F sharp minor, F sharp blues, whatever you want to call it. And I turn on the radio, and sometimes there's crap in F sharp, and there's some stuff in all kinds of weird keys. So I do have all 12 with me when I go out and practice, and I can always just switch to chromatic if it's something I don't feel like doing in diatonic. But the thing that's interesting is I can make that less minor sounding by taking out the 5 blow. And I leave that out and I go. So third position, if you leave out the second note of the third position scale, it's going to sound more like rock, more like hard rock, because a lot of hard rock is done with a minor pentatonic scale. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing in third position. Again, and that is a blues scale in third position. Again, if you're just wandering in and going, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that, yeah, don't worry about it. Just learn the basics and learn some songs and how to jam a little bit, and then you build off of that. So I just want to show you that if this is the low E. So that's a blues scale. But if I go to the standard C, I just don't happen to have a regular tuned E here, but I go. So that's pretty high. I just don't. I don't like being pushed into that the high end of the harmonica on that. So the one problem you will find with these low keys, and actually it's with any harmonica by any manufacturer, you will find if you buy 5 C's made by Lee Oscar, normal tuning, 5 C's made by Seidel or Hohner, they're all going to be slightly different, and some are going to play a little bit better, and some might be tuned a little bit better. Let me see if it's going to cut me off here. Hang on. Here we go. Okay, so I don't think it's cut me off. I'll know better, but it went there. It's counted down to 0, and now it stopped counting. So I was curious if it would cut me off, and evidently it didn't. But I'm looking at my other screen here just to make sure it doesn't get cut off there. I don't think it did. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. So one thing, if you get, let's say, Steve from Michigan, and I have to say those out loud or I never remember it. Steve from Michigan buys a D harmonica. And normally he buys Hohner Special 20s, but he thought, I'll try a Lee Oscar. And the Lee Oscar doesn't play as great to him as the Special 20. That's because, well, It's not because the Special 20 plays better than the Lee Oscar. They sound a little different, they play slightly differently, but if you buy five of any one key with any brand, any manufacturer, any style, diatonic or chromatic, they all play differently. Some leak air more than others. So don't it's tough. In the old days, we could walk into a music store and go, "Yeah, I need to buy a D harmonica," and they go, "Oh, okay, great." So you pull out a bunch of D harmonicas and you play them all, and you buy the one or two you like. That's what we could do in the '70s and up through most of the '80s, and then that got a little harder, and especially with COVID, you're not going to see that. Now they have health laws, state and federal health laws, that you can't return a harmonica once you played it. Actually, you can't ever return a harmonica because of that whole saliva and germ thing. So, all right, this seems to be working. So now I know if I go over an hour, I'm okay. So that's good to know. So, John, I don't know if that helped at all, but that's what I was talking about. Let me do it one more time since I've got the low ones in here. Here's a standard C, third position. Then the low C, low octave C. So if you take where is it? Here it is. This is a standard G harmonica. If you play second position in this, like blues style type stuff, excuse me, it's a really, excuse me, pardon me, this is a really old G, and it leaks a lot. So it's really difficult to play, but I don't play it much, and it's just here in my little teaching bag. So anyway, I just wanted to show you, if you play in second position on a G, you're doing, and I do a blues scale, I'm in the key of D, blues, in second position on a G harmonica, key of D, and I'll do a blues scale. But if I go to a low C, see how nice that is? So for me, who's moving into doing more first position improvising and third position, just because it does make it kind of easier for me in some regards with my tongue switching stuff. That works great for me, and I really just started this, gosh, I don't know, a month or two ago, something like that. So it's still pretty new to me, but I've been doing this forever, so I pick things up fairly quickly. And it's a little bit like taking the chromatic harmonica and playing it. That's just playing a D blues scale on the chromatic. So it's just very, very easy for me on the chromatic to play in C or G even. There's a bunch of keys that they're actually all easy for me now. But in terms of not having to press a damn button in, it's if I play third position on a C chromatic or first position in C, it's easy. So I do that in diatonic, there's no button to press in. And then it's just a matter of throwing in some bends and stuff. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up.